Good morning all. This is the continuation of my previous video on IR spectroscopy. The topic is modes of vibration. Different bonds vibrate by the absorption of IR radiation. Okay, these vibrations can generally classified into two, either stretching or bending vibration. That is, for example, consider water molecule. The OH bond, water molecule contain the OH bond. This OH bond can be stretched. We can consider this bond just like the movement of the bond as just like that of a spring. So the bond length can either be increased or be decreased. Okay, so OH bond length can be increased or it can be decreased. Like that, there may be a particular vibration, and this is called a stretching vibration. Second case is the bond angle may increase or decrease. Okay, so the vibrations are of two types. Either there is difference in bond length, that is stretching vibration, or there is difference in bond angle, that is bending vibration. Okay, so let's see the different stretching and bending vibrations of water molecule. First of all, stretching vibrations. Stretching vibrations are of two types. Symmetric stretching or anti-symmetric stretching. So water molecule, symmetric stretching means both the bond length increases. So if both the bond length either increases or both the bond length decreases, we can say the stretching is symmetric stretching. And what is anti-symmetric stretching? One of the bond length increases, at the same time the second bond length decreases. If the vibration is in this mode, we can say this is called an anti-symmetric stretching vibration. Okay, so stretching can be of two types, symmetric stretching or anti-symmetric stretching. In symmetric stretching, both the bond length either increases or decreases. Anti-symmetric stretching means one of the bond length increases, simultaneously the second bond length decreases. Okay, so these are the two stretching vibrations. Now let's see the bending vibrations of water molecule. Bending vibrations can be generally of two types. In plane bending or out of plane bending vibration. That means in plane vibrations are of two types. Scissoring or rocking, and the out of plane vibrations are of two types. Wagging or twisting. First of all, what is scissoring? So for water molecule, if the movement of the bonds are like this, bond angle simultaneously decreases. So if the movement of the two bonds are just like the movement of the scissors, we can say the movement is called scissoring. The bond angle decreases or increases for scissoring, and for rocking bond angle changes in such a way that both the bonds move in the same direction. That is called rocking. And both these movements, scissoring or rocking vibrations, are in plane vibration because the change is happening in the same plane. For example, if we see the vibrations of water molecule, these two scissoring and rocking movements are in the plane of this screen. Okay. And what are the out of plane vibrations? What about wagging and twisting? So for water molecule, if both the bonds coming out of the plane of this screen coming towards us or inside the plane of this screen, we can say the movement is called wagging. Here both the OH bonds are coming towards us, wagging. And then what is twisting? One of the bond is coming towards us out of the plane of the board, and the second one moves away from us. This is called a twisting movement. And wagging and twisting are out of plane because in the case of wagging, both the bonds are coming out of the plane of the screen. And in twisting, one of the bond coming towards us and the other bond towards inside the plane of the screen. And so these are the out of plane vibrations. Thus bending vibration can be either scissoring, rocking or wagging or twisting. These bending vibrations can be classified based on the plane. Scissoring and rocking are in plane vibrations, and wagging and twisting are out of plane vibration. So for a compound or a molecule, give signal in the IR spectra based on any of these stretching or bending vibrations. Thus vibrations are generally of two types, either stretching or bending. Stretching is of two types, symmetric or antisymmetric stretching vibration, and bending are of four different types. Based on any of these vibrations, we get peak in the IR spectra of a compound. Now let's see the stretching and bending modes of two compounds. First of all, water molecule. First of all, we have to calculate the number of vibrations of water molecule. That is based on the number of degrees of freedom. Water molecule is a non-linear molecule. Therefore, number of degrees of freedom is 3n minus 6. There are 3 atoms, therefore 3 into 3 minus 6 is equal to 3. There are 3 vibrations in the case of water molecule, based on which we expect 3 peaks in the IR spectra of water molecule. And the 3 peaks are, first one is symmetric stretching. Second is antisymmetric stretching. And third one is scissoring bend. So by calculation, we get 3 peaks in the IR spectra of water molecule. 2 peaks are based on stretching vibrations, symmetric stretching and antisymmetric stretching. And third one is one bending vibration, scissoring. Okay, so thus we get 3 peaks in the IR spectra of water molecule. Next is the stretching and bending vibrations of carbon dioxide. So by theory, carbon dioxide is a linear molecule. Therefore, by calculation, number of degrees of freedom is, number of vibrations of carbon dioxide is based on the equation 3n minus 5. Here n is again 3. Therefore, 3 into 3 minus 5 is equal to 4. So we expect 4 peaks in the IR spectra of carbon dioxide. So expected peaks. Is equal to 4. And what are the 4 peaks of carbon dioxide? First one is symmetric stretching. Second is asymmetric or antisymmetric stretching. 3 and 4 are 2 bending vibrations. And these 4 are the peaks we expect in the IR spectra of carbon dioxide. Okay. So let's see the peaks. So this is the shape of carbon dioxide. And the symmetric stretching moment is like this. But what is the essential condition for a compound to be IR active? There should be a change in dipole moment. But the symmetric stretching vibration of carbon dioxide is not having any change in dipole moment. Therefore, the symmetric stretching mode of carbon dioxide is IR inactive because it doesn't satisfy the essential condition of IR activity. And what about the asymmetric stretching? In the case of asymmetric stretching, this bond length decreases this bond length increases. Okay, one of the bond length decreases, simultaneously the other one increases, and because of this anti-symmetry, this is having a change in dipole moment. Therefore, the anti-symmetric or asymmetric vibration of carbon dioxide is IR active. And we have 2 bending vibrations also. So now how many IR active peaks? The 2 bending vibrations are IR active. Therefore, number of IR active peaks are 3 for carbon dioxide. But we get only 2 peaks in the IR spectra of carbon dioxide. What is the reason? We have carbon dioxide is having 2 bending vibrations. We can say the 2 bending vibrations are degenerate. There are 2 bending vibrations in the case of carbon dioxide, but these 2 bending vibrations are degenerate. Means, what is degeneracy? These 2 peaks are obtained at the same vibrational frequency. That means both the peaks having the same energy. So based on 2 bending vibrations, we get only 1 peak. So thus in the case of carbon dioxide, by calculation we can say that there are 4 peaks. So expected peaks is equal to 4, of which the IR active peaks are only 1, sorry, 3. There are 3 peaks which are IR active. What happened to the 4th one? That is IR inactive because of, which one is IR inactive? Symmetric stretching mode is IR inactive. What is the reason? There is no change in dipole moment. That doesn't satisfy the essential condition of IR activity. So expected peaks is 4. Peaks are 4. IR active peaks only 3. And how many peaks are actually obtained in the IR spectra of carbon dioxide? Number of peaks is equal to 2. What is the reason? The 2 bending vibrations of carbon dioxide are degenerate. Okay, so what are the peaks of carbon dioxide in the IR spectra? First one is an asymmetric stretching. Second is 1 bending. 2 bending vibrations, both are degenerate. Therefore, corresponding to these 2 vibrations, we get only a single peak. Thus, 2 peaks are obtained in the IR spectra of carbon dioxide. Okay. So next is the application of IR spectroscopy. First one is, it is, as we all know, it is used for the qualitative analysis. IR spectroscopy is very effective to find out the functional group present in a compound. Thus, we can very easily identify the compound present, and thus it is very effective for the qualitative analysis. Second is determination of purity of a sample. How can we determine the purity of a sample? First of all, we take the IR spectra of the given sample, and again we take the IR spectra of the pure sample. We have the IR spectra of the pure sample. We compare the two spectra. If there is the presence of any additional peak, that indicates the presence of impurity. Thus, by comparing the spectra, IR spectra of the given sample with that of the pure one, we can identify if there is any impurity present in the compound. Next is structure elucidation of a compound. Structure elucidation is possible by IR spectroscopy because it gives valuable information regarding molecular symmetry, dipole moment, bond length, bond strength, etc. Okay. Fourth one is presence of water in a sample. So if water is present in a compound, some bands appear at about 3600 centimeter inverse to 3200 centimeter inverse, and this corresponding to the IR peak for hydrogen bonding. Therefore, if there is a presence of peak in such a value, we can say there is the presence of water in the sample. Thus, the presence of water in a sample can be analyzed by IR spectroscopy. Fifth one is force constant can be calculated. Okay, so if we can find out the vibrational frequency from the IR spectra, then force constant can be calculated by the equation nu bar is equal to 1 by 2 pi c into square root of k by mu, where k is the force constant. Okay, so vibrational frequency will obtain from the IR spectra, and by substituting all these values, we'll get we can calculate the force constant of a molecule. And the sixth application of IR spectroscopy is we can distinguish intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding. This is very specific to IR spectroscopy. Intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding can be distinguished by IR spectroscopy. So what we are doing is, suppose we have two samples, A and B. A is having intermolecular hydrogen bonding and the sample B is having intramolecular hydrogen bonding, and we prepare different concentrations of the sample A as A, B, C, D, E. Similarly, we prepare different concentrations of the sample B, A, B, C, D, E, and we take the IR spectra of all these compounds. Okay, so we can see that as concentration increases, absorption band due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding increases. But the absorption peak of all these samples, intramolecular samples, remain unchanged. So for all the different concentrations of A, B, C, D, E of intramolecular hydrogen bonding, we get peak at the same value IR absorption band is unchanged, but for intermolecular hydrogen bonding, different concentrations, we get absorption band at different values. As concentration increases, the absorption band due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding also increases. Thus, IR spectroscopy is very effective to distinguish intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So, these are the applications of IR spectroscopy. Thank you.